What's going on YouTube? It's TH back again with another video, and today I'm giving you my Week 16 NFL Power Rankings. Excited to bring it your way. Getting through all the usual. If you like today's video, hit that like button. If you're new, want to see more football content, hit that subscribe button. But most importantly, comment your takeaways down in the comment section. Who do you think I have too high? Who do you think I have too low? Where's your favorite team? Where do you think they fit into this mix? Love to have your thoughts down in the comment section. Let's jump right into it. Bottom two teams stay the same. The Jags look like the worst team in football, and the Texans, they beat them. So you could make an argument the Texans should go up, but beating a bottom feeder of a team doesn't mean a whole lot. And still like the Jets and the Bears, I think a little bit more. Maybe you move the Jets and the Texans, but if we were doing a tier ranking, the Jets, Texans, and Jags are still in a tier of their own. Jets at 30, like I said, you could switch them in the Texans. The Bears, it's Justin Fields has a knack for looking pretty decent in the fourth quarter. Monday Night Football games, did it against the Steelers, did it against the Vikings this past week. But, I mean, whether you want to talk about Matt Nagy, the offensive line, lack of playmakers, outside of Darnell Mooney pretty much this year, the defense is falling apart. I mean, there's just not a whole lot going right in Chicago. I know it's a tough loss against a division opponent when Kirk Cousins doesn't even throw for 90 yards. We'll talk about that more later. Giants down a spot, and they're kind of in the same spot where the defense is probably the better side of the football for them, but it's starting to deteriorate with injuries, and also that defense, specifically with the Giants, is just getting left out to dry because their offense doesn't do anything to help them out. So tough time to be a Giants fan. Lots of reworking. I'm going to be starting up a series where I talk about the offseason team needs, and offensive line I think would go a long way to trying to help out this Giants offense. It would make Saquon Barkley happy, make Daniel Jones happy if he's back. And I think it overall helped the defense as well, just keeping the offense on the field. But we'll talk about that in the future. Panthers down a spot. This team's just not good. I'm sorry, Carolina fans. They're just not that good. Lions up 4 spots. Big risers this week. Now, this probably does not stay this way, but won 2 of their last 3. It took down a Vikings team that's in the playoff mix, beat the Cardinals this week, and overall they're showing a ton of fight. And in a lot of ways, that's more than you can say when you watch some quarters of the Bears and some games for the Giants and the Panthers, right? The Lions play for Dan Campbell, and, you get one of those, 1 or 2 good games out of Jared Goff in a year, and they showed they can play pretty well. And honestly, they just came out and punched the Cardinals in the mouth. Arizona hasn't really had that happen all that often this year, and they didn't really know what to do. They were stunned. The Lions took advantage, and they got a good win at home. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a big fan of him coming out of USC. This inside-out versatility wide receiver. He has a good day, and he's been playing pretty good of late. The Atlanta Falcons are at 25. Tough loss this week. Kyle Pitts still looks really, really good, and honestly, Russell Gage has shown some good play, but the 49ers just outmatched Atlanta, and that's just the simplest way I can put it. On to number 24, it's the Seattle Seahawks. They played the Rams pretty tough for 3 quarters. Rams ultimately able to cover the spread and get that late surge, make it a 10-point win. But this team, I think, is destined for a blow-up. At least what you can say out of this close game against the Rams, they are still fighting and competing, and maybe that's enough to keep Pete Carroll around, despite maybe they move on from Russell Wilson. But we'll see. That's going to be a fun team to cover this offseason. Denver Broncos down 2 spots. Prayers up for Teddy Bridgewater. Hopefully he's all right. And then you kind of got the full Drew Lock experience where he has a couple of plays where you're like, all right, Drew Lock can do this. And then a couple of plays where you're like, why is he even on the field? So, it comes with the territory. The defense is still playing overall pretty well. But, yeah. If you can't beat the Bengals when they have 15 points throughout the majority of the contest, I mean that just says a lot about where that offense is at, and that sucks because Judy Sutton, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Albert Okwuegbunam, Melvin Gordon, Javonte, you name it. There's weapons there, but if you can't outscore a team with 15 points, you don't deserve to win. Vegas Raiders up 3 spots. This was a little bit of an interesting game. Obviously, a very COVID-depleted Browns offense, but the Raiders, it's hard to win games on the road. The Raiders took care of business, and it wasn't always pretty. And I don't understand some of the Rick Bisaccia's understanding for punting. Like there was one spot where Derek Carr got the offense back the line. It was like 4th and literally less than a football's worth of distance. All you got to do is hike it. They went no huddle. If Derek Carr falls down, it's a first down. But, he's a special teams coach, so I guess he wants to see the punt. And so there's still some things where the Raiders win this game. They still make me scratch my head, so they're staying here at 22, up 3 spots. So Washington football team, again, they played the Eagles pretty tough, and, they did it with Garrett Gilbert starting at quarterback. So, despite me not being crazy on Heineke or, Kyle Allen's a whatever football player at this point in his career, you kind of wonder where this game could have gone if they had a little bit of a better quarterback under center. But the defense played pretty well, especially in the first half. But down the stretch, the Eagles made enough plays and kind of just outlasted Washington. And that's kind of that's what's going to happen when you have Garrett Gilbert starting at quarterback. New Orleans Saints, I mean, I've been saying for a while Dennis Allen should be getting some head coaching buzz. He definitely is now. Seeing his name thrown out a ton. The defense has been good this year. But man, they continue to go right at the Bucs, and this game, really what I give a lot of credit to Dennis Allen for is understanding once players got hurt, he could be aggressive, and he made the most of it. To start this game before, Evans leaves and Fournette gets hurt and Chris Godwin gets hurt, it's still a good defense for the Saints, and they play a lot of man coverage and a lot of cover 1, cover 3 looks, and they just give Tom Brady headaches. For whatever reason, it's a defense with answers. But then the second that Evans left and Godwin was out, and it was Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, Jalen Darden, all players I like, especially Darden, but they're all good depth players at this point in their career. Dennis Allen put the pedal to the floor and said, all right, beat Marshawn Lattimore, all right, beat Eli Apple, and I love that ability to just say, I can see what's in front of me. I know we had a game plan, but I'm making a change on the fly. We're running man-to-man press coverage, and Tyler Johnson beat me. Scotty Miller beat me. So I really did enjoy watching Dennis Allen work his magic as the interim head coach. Sean Payton was out. The offense still is not very good, but this was a defensive highlight that is one of the best performances I've seen all year, frankly. Eagles up a spot. They're at number 19. Right there in that playoff mix, and honestly, between them and the Vikings, I think I like the Eagles' chances of making it better. Part of that strength of schedule, and we'll talk about that once we get to the Vikings. But this team, when it commits to running the football, is really, really good. I feel bad for Miles Sanders because the man on your screen, one, this picture is hard as all get out. But two, Jalen Hurts, a pair of 1-yard rushing touchdowns. He's like the vulture who just takes a snap, right? It's amazing. It's kind of like if you're old school football fan, I don't say old school, but Mike Tolbert used to do this all the time to Chargers running backs, whether it was LT or whoever. But this time it's just the quarterback. Jalen Hurts is just an absolute vulture. You could say Cam did a lot of the same things to Carolina. I digress. This Eagles team is playing some good football. A win on the road against a division opponent, that'll go a long way. Actually, I believe this game was at home, so my apologies on that. Ravens at number 18, down 3 spot. I mean, Tyler Huntley made this a game, and he is an exclusive free agent after this year. Baltimore almost assuredly brings him back. Now, I think there's going to be some trade conversations around him, but he is a perfect fit in this offense, and he is exactly what Greg Roman can do with a quarterback of his skill set, where the arm's not great. He's an okay enough passer accuracy-wise within 15 yards, but he's a great athlete, and Roman can create an offense around that. We saw with Kaepernick. We've seen it with Lamar Jackson, and this almost feels like when Roman got his hands on Kaepernick and Jackson for the first time, where it looks so new and innovative and almost looks better than whoever was there before, despite we know Lamar Jackson's a better football player than Tyler Huntley. But Greg Roman has a hard time hitting that next step of the offense, having it evolve and become that much harder to defend. But Tyler Huntley gave it a good effort and a comeback chance. The 2-point conversion, this is 3 weeks in a row this has been a conversation for the Ravens. I appreciate against Pittsburgh and this week against Green Bay trying to go out and win the game. That's the right call in my eyes. And even the 2-point conversion a week ago, where they were doing it earlier, and there was the whole argument: do you try to make this a 1-possession game, take the extra point, blah blah blah. I think it was the right choice to go for 2 in that spot as well. So Ravens are playing aggressive. That's kind of what you have to do. This team is injury-riddled, and they're still finding ways to keep it close, and eventually these aggressive 1% moves will eventually pay dividends, and they'll win some close games down the stretch, even if it is Tyler Huntley, I think. Cleveland Browns down 3 spots as well. I mean, this wasn't the exact same Cleveland team that normally is out on the field. COVID took apart that offense, right? No Baker Mayfield, and there were throws Nick Mullins had Donovan Peoples-Jones wide open. It was a beautiful ball up the sideline early on in the contest up the right side of the field, and DPJ just drops it. So this Browns team needs an elite wide receiver, and it needs its starters out there. The rushing attack was my biggest concern coming into this game, but I don't think that'll necessarily be something that is a commonality. Nick Mullins wasn't great in this contest, so the Raiders kind of had the opportunity to cheat a little bit, play a lot of players in the box, and take away the run game as much as they could. That said, Nick Chubb still had over 90 yards rushing, so you can only slow him down, but so much. On to the top 16, Pittsburgh Steelers at 16, up 2 spots. Kind of surprised they won this game, honestly, and I know the Titans are still ahead of Pittsburgh. I'm a Steelers fan. That game was as fluky as it gets. You do not see a whole lot of teams win games with 168 yards of total offense, but give credit to Pittsburgh. They took advantage of turnovers. Now, a lot of them turned into field goals, Boswell goes 4 for 5. I mean, he's one of the best Steelers. He might be the best Steelers kicker in franchise history. But they took advantage of the errors on Tennessee's end. Now they didn't do it in the most efficient manner, turning them into 7 points instead. A lot of times it was 3, but that was enough. And the defense played really well overall. The run defense was a little concerning, right? Give up over 200 yards on the ground. That is a big worry on my end. But I think that's part of just, the Titans have a fantastic run blocking offensive line. That's their strength. And ultimately, what good is 200 yards on the ground when you're down in the fourth quarter? I think Pittsburgh was inviting the run in that situation, trying to force the Titans to chew up clock, and that kind of inflates those numbers a little bit as well. But a good win overall for Pittsburgh. Minnesota up a couple spots. It wasn't pretty, but it's a divisional win, and I take a lot of weight into divisional wins. I think they matter a little bit more than just your regular. Say the Vikings were playing the Dolphins, the team right above them at 14. That's a good win, whatever. But when you knock off a division game, those games always play tight, and there's just a lot of emotion on the line. So I weigh those pretty heavily. Tangent aside, the Vikings, this was not their cleanest performance, and if they want to seriously make the playoffs as the 7 seed, and they're going to need at least one win against the Packers or the Rams, or the next 2 teams they play, then they play the Bears again. I think they can win that. They're going to have to win 2 of their next 3, in my eyes, because Philadelphia's got a way easier schedule on the horizon. So Vikings are going to have to play a lot cleaner football. So we'll see if they're up to the task in the coming weeks. Miami Dolphins, they got a good run against the Jets, and that was part of the reason why I did move the Jets down and trade places with the Texans. Jets overall showed some fight. I mean, they got bailed out by Tua's late pick 6, kind of made it a game when it was trending in another direction. But the Dolphins, give them credit, made enough plays, and they won this game without Jalen Waddle, which you have got to think that, considering that offense, Waddle's absence is as big an absence as there gets outside of Tua Tagovailoa. Waddle probably is the next biggest player they could potentially miss in that offense. So they were resilient and they found a way. And how about Duke Johnson? All you need to do is get him back in Miami. It feels like forever Dolphins fans have been trying to get Duke Johnson in Miami, where he went to college, and dude balled out. A pair of tutties, over 100 yards. It was really fun to see him kind of ball out and have a day against the Jets. Also, I do want to bring this point up because this is always what I talk about when I get into mock drafts. So if you're a fan of my draft content, you're going to kind of get a little bit of insider baseball here, but or at least a peek into what I'm going to say in my next mock draft. But you look at that last touchdown for the Miami Dolphins, it's Devontae Parker running a slant against Bryce Hall. And I'm a fan of Bryce Hall. I think he's played pretty well this year. But that's a spot where everybody says for the Jets, Robert Saleh's defense hides the secondary. You don't need to invest a whole lot of talent there. Well, that game came down to, second and goal, third and goal? Goal-to-goal situation. Dolphins run a slant. Devontae Parker, who's not known as a crisp route runner, gets away from Bryce Hall, gets a touchdown to win the game. That's why, even in a scheme that doesn't necessarily need elite talent, it still helps if you get a Derek Stingley Jr. in the first round, or Kyle Hamilton to pair with him in the top of the first round. So, kind of piggybacking off some of the stuff I've seen in recent mocks and what I've done in my mocks for the Jets, that's a spot where if you get Derek Stingley Jr. and he turns out to be what he could be, maybe that throw is not there, right? Maybe he breaks it up, and maybe the Jets force overtime. Obviously, hypotheticals here. Titans down 2 spots. They just did not play a clean brand of football in this one. Tannehill fumbles a snap. I mean, they kind of got robbed. Foreman's shin was definitely down on his fumble, but, football can be weird, and the NFL officiating, I feel like, is hit an apex of despair. It's been pretty bad this year. At least I remember it more this year than I feel like I have in years past. But the Titans' defense, the good news, despite the loss, still played really well. Now that could be a factor of playing Big Ben. And Big Ben has a knack for making a lot of defenses look pretty good this year. But I'm not too worried about the Titans, right? Julio Jones did go down in this game, but you're going to be getting AJ Brown back. And once we get to the playoffs, it does sound like Derrick Henry is going to play. So if this team can just coast their way to the playoffs, it doesn't matter if they win the division. It doesn't matter if they make it as a wild card team. If they get back to full strength with Julio, Brown, and Derrick Henry, I mean, that's a tough matchup, especially with the defense playing the way it is now. So I think there's plenty of things to look up for if you're a Tennessee fan. Bengals at number 12. It was an ugly win. It feels like I've been saying that a lot this video, but a road win counts for a whole lot, and you knocked off a Broncos team that's defense is formidable, right? And they found enough ways to make big plays. It was good to see Tyler Boyd get in the mix, right? We saw a whole lot of Jamar Chase early. Then we had a couple weeks where T. Higgins was the guy. This week, a couple of big plays from Tyler Boyd. So it's good to see that offense become more well-rounded. This team just has got to just take off the training wheels. They have got to air it out more. They run the ball in 55% of first down plays. That is just too much. It really, honestly, it'd be better if they just completely flipped that, and 55% of the time they passed it on 1st and 10. That said, it feels like they're doing it as a preventative measure to try to avoid Joe Burrow from getting hurt, right? He can't get hurt if we don't ask him to do too much and ask him to drop back less. And maybe that's because they still don't have faith in this offensive line. And if that's the rationale, I'm not in the room, I understand it. But at this point, if you want to make the playoffs, air it out. You have a chance to win this division. And I'd say about 2 years ahead of schedule. So they need to take advantage of that window. Chargers at 11, down 2 spots. I mean, that Thursday night game, Chargers-Chiefs, might have been the game of the year. It was an awesome one to watch. The only bad thing about it was, well, 2 things really. The Chargers didn't get to touch the football in overtime, and then all the 4th down stuff. I'll go ahead and put my 2 cents in here. It's been talked about enough. The Chargers are that team. Brandon Staley's been doing that all year. And additionally, nobody talked about those 4th downs if Donald Parham holds on to the back of the end zone. Good to see that he's doing okay, by the way. And if, even before that, if Mike Williams catches that football, Herbert threw it 100 miles an hour on that goal-to-goal start of the day for the Chargers offense. But if Williams holds on to it, no one's talking about it, right? If these teams execute on 4th downs, the Chargers, they really struggle with drops in this game. And that's my big worry about this team. They lead the league in penalties, and it feels like they've got to be near the top of the league in drops. And some of those little things, on top of they find weird ways to lose leads and make games close, that's where I kind of worry about Staley, but he's also a first-time head coach. So you hope those things kind of just iron themselves out over time. And when Staley gets a better understanding of how to coach football games, how to learn on the fly. But back to the 4th downs, this team's aggressive, and I'm all for it. And there weren't many spots where they didn't have what they wanted open. They just need to execute, and that comes down to players. And even Keenan Allen after this game was like, I like being empowered by my coach that he trusts me to go out there on 4th down. And I think that's a good point as well, putting your trust into players' hands. So makes a lot of sense. I'm here for the Chargers' aggressive play style because they've been consistent. They've been doing that all year. It's not like it just poof came out of nowhere. Cardinals down 4 spots. Look, you lose the Lions, you're gonna fall some, but they're still a top 10 team. I think we're starting to see some of their weaknesses, especially DeAndre Hopkins. Like AJ Green's had some moments and he's had some games. Okay, is he ready to be number 1? That, or can we please start seeing more Rondale Moore? No pun intended, but I need more Rondale Moore in this offense if they're going to be without Nuke Hopkins, at least for the rest of the regular season, potentially into the postseason. That's a big loss for that offense. And you do get Chase Edmonds back. I'm interested to see how they use him as a pass catcher, maybe make up some of that lost production from Hopkins and you just sprinkle it around everyone. That's an interesting idea. Defense got slightly exposed this week, but overall that unit has still outperformed expectations. Van Joseph's been a great DC. My money, still the coordinator of the year. So I'm not worried about the Cardinals. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. The NFC West, them and the Rams are both 10-4, and now you don't have if the Cardinals had won a week ago on Monday Night Football, they have the tiebreaker. But that said, I still feel pretty good about the Cardinals either winning the division, making the playoffs, being a competitive football team, and potentially making a run. Buffalo Bills are up a spot and at number 9, and this picture here on your screen was an absolute BB coming from Josh Allen finding Gabe Davis. It was good to see Gabriel Davis have a good day, pair of touchdowns at, I believe, 85 yards, and he did it against a good defense, and that's an encouraging sign. Additionally, Devin Singletary runs the ball 22 times in this game. It feels like the Bills are trying to implement more folds to the offense. It's not just Stephon Diggs. It's not just Josh Allen, his arm and his legs. You got to account for Devin Singletary. You have to keep an eye on Gabriel Davis because he can make big plays. Dawson Knox, when he's not dropping the football, has proven to be a good quality tight end this season. So it feels like the Bills are adding in new elements to the offense and really just trying to make scouting them once you come to the postseason that much harder and make you honest and have to respect a lot of the different weapons that they have at their disposal. Also, Davis played well. I believe Emmanuel Sanders missed this game, so that was big for him to step up as that number 2 wide receiver and showcasing, hey, I can handle that type of role. On to the top 8, the New England Patriots down 4 spots. And, between this Colts-Pats game, it could have gone a lot of different ways. The late run from the Colts kind of stretches the lead out, makes it look a little bit more of a dominant Colts win. But nonetheless, this game was going to be decided by whoever's running game made a big play. Patriots missing Damien Harris, I think, kind of held them back in that area. Not to say I don't like Ramondre Stevenson, and the Pats they have a good offensive line. They can make do with just a lot of running backs in the NFL. Ultimately, it was just the Colts making enough big plays down the stretch, and really the Patriots not able to capitalize on all the potential turnovers that Carson Wentz was trying to loft in their direction, right? I believe Pro Football Focus had it as 4 turnover-worthy plays with just 1 pick. 3 missed opportunities there, and in a game this close, if you get one of those turnovers turned into points, the Jonathan Taylor run never happens. you could be talking about the Patriots winning this game. So overall, I really hope I see these two teams play again because they are built so similarly. It just comes down to whose quarterback ultimately plays better. Now, that said, there was more on the plate of Mac Jones, and he was fine in this game, I guess. It wasn't his best showing. And then Carson Wentz was desperately trying to throw this game away for Indy, and the Colts still won. So that's an encouraging sign if you're a Colts fan, being able to win games in different ways and doing it on the road. That is really impressive in a potential future AFC playoff battle between these two squads. So the Colts are red hot, and that's what's put them into the top 5. We'll talk about them once we get there. 49ers, another team that's scorching hot right now. This offense at full strength has playmakers everywhere. And it feels like, I said this coming into the year too. Go back and check my old videos and double check this. But I've been saying it feels like San Francisco's offense is almost built in a way to go NBA and just embrace positionless football. Deebo Samuel's both a wide receiver and a running back. Kittle's a wide receiver. I don't call him a running back, but crafty after the catch playmaker. He can go down the field, win 50-50 balls. He's a crisp route runner. He gets open on his own. And then you have Brandon Yuke out of the doghouse. He's a quality potential number 1 wide receiver. He's looked pretty good of late. And then he can also do some of the similar things that you can do with Ayuk, lining him up in the backfield, handing him football on end arounds, things like that. So add in Eli Mitchell, or Elijah Mitchell, I call him Eli, once he's back. And even if he's not, I mean, we saw Jeff Wilson look pretty good this week. So that offense naturally is just going to create running lanes for whoever's in the backfield. So if they can continue to get good play out of Jimmy Garoppolo, he continues to avoid finding linebackers with an exorbitant amount of frequency, this team is going to be okay. And the pass rusher's there, right? So they have a dynamic, explosive potential offense. And the defense is not great, especially in the secondary, but they've been able to get enough pass rush, and Fred Warner does a whole lot covering up the middle of the field at that second level that they've been able to get by. And I think that's still a formula that could carry them potentially to a playoff win. Cowboys up a spot. It wasn't the cleanest day for the offense, but they took care of business against the Giants. And again, these division games play weird, but this was maybe the only game this week that went as I had predicted, right? Like that in Thursday Night Football, I was hoping for a great game. We got one. This one, it should have been Cowboys cover the spread. They're a potential top 4 seed in the NFC, maybe even higher. And the Giants are trending very much in the bad direction. And the Cowboys handled business. So that counts. And the defense continues to really impress me. And at this point, we've seen a couple times this year the defense win games. So that's a really impressive mark there if you're a Dallas fan. Colts, we already talked about them a good bit, up 3 spots in the top 5. They're one of the hottest teams in football. So these power rankings are done week by week, and they kind of show the progression, the ebbs and flows of the game. I didn't anticipate them being a top 5 team coming into the year. I was pretty low in the Colts, honestly. But right now, they're playing like a top 5 unit in the NFL. Bucks down 2 spots. I mean, we kind of talked about it when we talked about the Saints earlier. This is just kind of a disappointing performance, and the Saints continue to have Brady in the Bucks number. Now the question comes down to what can you do to try to replenish? Chris Godwin's out for the year. It sounds like Leonard Fournette's going to at least miss the regular season. You do get Antonio Brown back, and still waiting to hear the certainty of when we might expect Mike Evans back. But if AB is back and can stay in the lineup, now I know that's a big if he can stay in the lineup, keep his head on right, then I think this offense still will be able to click and still be a productive unit. But it just comes down to how do you replenish some of those missing assets. Chiefs moving to the top 3 at number 2. They win an awesome Thursday Night Football game. And in specific, Travis Kelce looks back. Like, he had some drop issues at the beginning of the year, and he felt like he was a result of some of that offensive frustration. The team just didn't have big plays, and it was just kind of spilling over into different areas. This game, he went crazy. And, that touchdown at the end of the game kind of caps it off. It wasn't an 80-yard bomb, right? Like, caught the ball to the middle of the field, and then made it hell happen with his legs. And this Chiefs offense continues to find ways to get the ball in open space. Like 2 weeks ago, they used Tyreek Hill basically as their checkdown option. Like, hey, if you're going to play too high and they're not going to give us the deep ball, we're going to set Tyreek Hill in this little 2-yard route, and we're going to dump it to him, and then you have to go tackle him. And then what they did in that final play with, Kelce, he's at the sticks, makes the catch, and it's like, all right, come tackle this 6'5", 220-plus pound tight end that moves really, really well for his size. And they didn't. The Chargers didn't, that is. And the Chiefs ended up getting the game-winning tutty. So this offense continues to find ways to play underneath and then to let their playmakers get more out of it. This offense could be back in a hurry. Rams are up a spot. I again talked about it with the Seahawks earlier. Close game for the majority of the contest. Rams ultimately pull it away, win 20-10. But this was one of those Win it when your offense isn't fantastic type of games. Win a division contest where Matt Stafford's not throwing for 400 yards and 3 tuds, and Van Jefferson's not wide open down the middle of the field and getting behind the defense, and OBJ's not going crazy. Find a way to win a physical contest on the road in a divisional game. And the Rams did that. So that's impressive for my mark, and they move up a spot for it. And the Green Bay Packers stay pat at number 1. And this, at one point, if until the Huntley miraculous comeback, this was like a 14-point game. So Green Bay had this one in hand, and then Huntley made it interesting down the stretch. But Green Bay is still playing like the best team in football, and they have plenty of injured players coming back. So that's got to be a scary prospect for any teams or any fans of teams not named Green Bay in the NFC or even in the NFL overall. But that's going to do it for my Week 16 NFL Power Rankings. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. New to the channel, want to see more football content, hit that big red subscribe button. Most importantly, though, comment your takeaways from these power rankings down in the comment section. Who do I have too high? Who do I have too low? Who's your favorite team? Where do you think they fit in the mix? Hopefully you all have a fantastic rest of your day. That's going to do it for today's video. Till next time, my name is Teej, and I'm signing off.